Okay. You can unmute you can talk back to me if you want to.
Hi, Tiffany. Great to be here.
Wait a minute. I can't hear it. I'll keep it. Is it on speaker?
Hi, this is Sonja.
Oh.
This is Kate.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Wait a minute. How do you? Okay. All right. Okay. All right. Now, Jasmine, just tell me when you're ready. You ready for me to start?
You could go ahead.
Okay. How's everybody doing tonight?
We're great.
Great. Okay. This is probably our most ambitious project. So we're gonna get started because it is gonna take the whole hour, I think, to get it done. But we're excited about it. My nephew, he just asked me like, "Oh, you put that spinach in it again?" So I'm like, so I might leave the spinach out this time. We'll see. But the first, I know, young people and vegetables. If you haven't done so already, I already got get your water boiling for your noodles. I'm using the oven ready noodles, but to make sure we're going to make, I know the oven ready says not to, you don't have to boil it, but I do anyway, because we want it done in an hour. And sometimes when you put the hard noodles in there, they'll eventually kind of, they can dry out and take forever to cook. And so it takes a little bit longer. If you want this type of dish done within an hour, go ahead on and parboil your noodles prior to starting. Okay, so I'm letting the water, I got the water boiling with a little bit of salt water in there. And while that's going, we're gonna go ahead on and pick out get our vegetables, okay? I'm using zucchini, squash, and onion. I know I've set out some and I'm gonna use maybe a little bit of spinach. But I'm gonna go ahead on and start cutting up my vegetables so we can add them to our sauces, okay?
Okay.
This is a great dish to make, like, especially on a day like today, you know, comfort food. And it's a great dish to cook with your family. So I'm gonna start off cutting the zucchini. If you got eggplant or other vegetables, feel free to, you know, start working on those as well. The main thing is making sure all of your vegetables are pretty much the same size. Why? So that they'll all kind of cook evenly. You don't want to overcook them. We just want to kind of saute them a little bit. We don't want to overcook our vegetables. We don't want mushy vegetables in our lasagna. Okay, so what I'm doing now, I'm just going to cut up this zucchini, okay, with my knife, and got to get that going. I love working with this. It's kind of, you know, it's in season. You can kind of get it year round, but it's in season. It adds some very great color to your dishes, and it has, you know, a lot of times you can kind of incorporate it with your kids, and they'll eat it without giving you a whole lot of flack about it. Okay, so I'm getting the zucchini done. Okay. 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 Once again, making sure all of my cuts are even. Okay. Okay. Right, I got my yellow squash here. Okay. Okay, and if you have any questions as we go along, feel free to kind of chime in and ask. Let me get, I'm gonna just do one squash here. Okay, now here my water boiling, so I'm gonna pause for just a second. Go ahead on and put my noodles in so I can finish up my vegetables as the noodles are going. This is a 12-ounce box here. Here's a 12-ounce. I'm just gonna kind of lay them down in there. And if you have to break them up, that's fine. Yeah. Okay. So if you have to break up your noodles, you can do that, or you just kind of lay them in and kind of make sure they kind of get down in there. Good. And as they'll kind of press on down once they start to soften up. You don't want them to stick, okay? Now, some people add a little bit of oil to it, but sometimes you don't want them like, if you put the oil in there, then you try to put the sauce, they kind of be a little slippery. So it won't adhere to your sauce. So I've just keep the water nice and boiling, they won't stick on you. Okay? So I'm getting these on down in my pot. Okay. Put that one all down. Just gonna break these on up. Up under the submerged up under the water. Be careful because that water is nice and hot.
How long are you going to cook those noodles?
I'm probably gonna let these go for about 5 minutes or so. Okay? Let them go for about 5 minutes. Maybe a little longer. My pot is kind of full. I might have to add a little bit more water here. Okay. Okay, so as that's going, I'm gonna keep that on a rapid boil. If they start boiling over, I'm gonna add a little bit more water to mine there, and keeping it on a rapid boil, and then making sure I'm just taking my spoon and kind of breaking them up, making sure they don't stick together, and you don't want a clumpy mess. Okay. All right. Okay. So we're going to continue as that's going. I'm going to continue to add my vegetables. I'm going to go cut up my onion. I'm going to.
Hey, Tiffany.
I don't know how to do that.
Start the
Tiffany.
video.
Okay. I'm sorry.
I was going to let you know.
Yeah, he was trying to flip the screen, but I told him don't worry about it. He's got it. So, okay, so I got a regular yellow onion here. I'm only going to use about half of that, okay? Half of this onion. Okay. Now, if your noodle starts to boil over, just turn your eye down a little bit, your stove. Okay. Peel my onion here. I try to cut these as fast as possible so I don't start crying. Okay, now, with cutting my onion, onions naturally have a line in that. So I'm just gonna follow that line. We call this the claw technique when I'm teaching my students. I'm just gonna make some nice lines in here and dice this up because you're gonna start this off first. I'm holding the knife firm, but I'm not stabbing at it. I like to make a couple of cuts here. Pan down just a little bit on my hands. Okay, here. Then I make another cut kind of like in the middle, and then one other cut. And so once I do that, then I'm holding on to the onion. I got my knife, and then I can just make one cut here, okay? One cut. You might have to turn the onion like this. That way you can continue to cut it and cut it all the way down, okay? And so you can get all the onion off the root there. If you run into some bigger pieces, you can just kind of run your knife through here and get all of them cut up kind of nice and clean, okay? All right. Now, I'm gonna check on the noodles. Okay, they're coming along pretty good. Okay, now if you have a large family, you might have to do a box and a half, okay, of noodles. I always kind of keep pasta and stuff like that on hand, especially like a cold, rainy day like today. This is perfect comfort food. Okay, I'm gonna let that go for a few more minutes. Let me get we'll get a bowl out here. Put my onion in. Okay, I'm getting the onion together, so it's good to get all of your vegetables cut up. Okay, and now I think it calls for how many cloves of garlic? 3 cloves of garlic. And you can put as much, or I'm just gonna put 2 in there. What I'm gonna do is just take this knife here and kind of peel the edges off the knife. Let me get my paring knife out. Okay. I'm using my paring knife so I can kind of get the ends off of it and kind of peel the outer edge off of it. If you can't grab a hold with a nail, with your fingernail, just grab a knife and it'll do the same thing. You want to definitely make sure you cut your garlic nice and thin, so you don't want to bite down on a piece of garlic. Okay, I'm just peeling the outside edges off. This one has some spots on it, not particularly white, so I'm gonna cut the ends off of that as well. Okay, and then I'm gonna grab my knife here. Okay, take that like out a little edge here, and I'm just gonna make some nice slices here, razor thin. I'm trying to cut as thin as I can with garlic. A little goes a long way with garlic, but remember, you're gonna be dealing with tomatoes, so you're gonna have to we're adding the flavor. I think really 1 is gonna be enough here. I'm just gonna add 1 to mine. That'll be enough. That was a big kind of nice size clove there. So what I'm doing is running the knife through, and I'm just kind of grabbing it and kind of putting it in there, grabbing it, running the knife through, grabbing it, running the knife through. So I'm getting smaller, as small as possible pieces. So I'm mincing it. If you already have a jar of minced garlic, use that, you know, fresh or the already in the jar, minced work just as fine. So that created a good amount. So I'm gonna leave that right there. Okay. All right, now let's look at our noodles. Okay. Woo. I took my eye off of it. Okay. All right. All right. So as you can see, they're not, as you can see, they a little translucent there, and they're tender, but they still got a little bite to them. So they're a little al dente, meaning it has a little, I can tell without even tasting one, that they're done but not quite done. That's what you want. You don't want to overcook the noodles before you put them in, because they're going to continue to cook in the oven. I'm going to drain this off. While I'm doing that, I'm going to go ahead on and set my oven for 350. Now I have a pot here. It's a really handy dandy pot. This is the one, these are the type of pots you don't take to the church social, because if you like my church, you may not get your pot back. These are ones that kind of walk off at that family function, so you got to be careful. So this drains the water off, okay? Now, all right, now I drained the water off and I have my noodles. Now what I'm going to do, if you leave them in the pot like that, you run the risk of them sticking together. So what you can do is get another bowl, pan, or whatever, and just go ahead and kind of toss them in there until you're ready. And if they start to stick, okay, if they start to stick, just run a little cold water over them, and that'll unstick. I'm sorry. So if with your noodles, pan down to with your noodles, if they start to stick, then what you need to do, you can run a little cold water on them. That'll help them not to stick on you, or put a little olive oil on them. But I have to be, or a little oil. It doesn't necessarily have to be olive oil. But I don't like to do that because sometimes they don't stay, they won't stay, the sauce will kind of slide off, okay? All right, so while we're doing that, I want to switch gears here. I'm going to get my skillet out for my vegetables, okay? Now here, we're going to start making our sauce, okay? And I got a little extra virgin olive oil here. And then I'm just going to lightly coat the bottom, probably about maybe 3 tablespoons of olive oil, okay? Okay, it's important that we're gonna get our onions going first, but I'm not gonna put my garlic in quite yet because I don't want the garlic to burn. So I'm gonna kind of start off sauteing the onions first, and then I'm gonna add the garlic. Okay, let's come over here. I'm gonna let the pan kind of get heated up. What I'm doing is just kind of taking the pan and letting that oil kind of just coat the bottom of that pan, nice and hot. I'm gonna turn that on just a little bit. Now, for your seasonings, I have crushed black pepper in a grinder. I kind of like these. These are really kind of fun to work with, and they add a great pungent flavor to your dishes. I also have sea salt, and of course my crushed red pepper. And then I like working with a Lowry's garlic salt. Sometimes it can give you a little bit more flavor, but you can use any of the ingredients, of course, you already have at home. Okay, it's just about heated up. Now to this, we're gonna start with our onion. Okay, got an onion going in here. Okay, you can hear it start to sizzle a little bit. That's what we want. Start to kind of coat those vegetables. Okay. Okay, as they're going, I'm gonna add some pepper. Pepper here. And a little bit of salt. Okay, and this is really, when you're making a sauce, this is really what's gonna make the sauce, because these onions, as they're cooking in the olive oil, it's just gonna soak up flavor. That olive oil, the garlic, the onion, is just gonna soak up the flavor. Now I'm gonna add the garlic. Okay, you can see as I'm doing this, okay? You see the onions turning a nice translucent color. That's what we want. We'll take that little big piece out of there. Okay. All right. Okay, good. Now, turn that down just a little bit. And I'm gonna go ahead on and add my garlic, as much or as little as you want. Okay. Okay. Now, be careful. Yeah, I have to turn your pan down a little bit. Be careful not to burn the garlic, because that garlic, if the garlic burns, it will just get into everything, and you can't get it, okay? All right, so head on and add. If you're not a heat person, be very gentle or leave it out with your crushed red pepper. Again, adding levels of layers of flavor when making the sauce, okay? And you can, this sauce can be used for spaghetti, lasagna, penne. You can use it for any type of pasta, okay? Okay, you see that beautiful color, because those red is just infusing. All right, we got that going. We're gonna add the red pepper, and now I'm gonna add in my zucchini and squash. Now we're gonna add vegetables we just got through cooking, okay? All right. All right, now I'm gonna coat these in the onions, in the saucepan. All right, we're gonna coat these nice. Oh, one got away from me. Okay, any questions so far? Okay, so what I'm doing is bringing those onions and that garlic, the red pepper. I'm gonna make sure I'm coating the vegetables really good. Now, zucchini, the squash, I'm just gonna cook it. Zucchini and squash does not take a long time. I notice sometimes when I'm visiting or watching people, sometimes they cook vegetables just too I mean, they just overcook the vegetables. Lasagna, you don't want it to be one, okay? How you do that is don't overcook the vegetables. They're gonna continue to cook in the lasagna once you prepare it. So I don't want to overcook it by cooking them too long, okay? You kind of just want to infuse them with flavor and continue to add the ingredients. You don't want to spend too much time overcooking the vegetables. You don't want to overcook the vegetables, okay? So you can see that all the flavors are, okay? How that's going. Panel up. Okay, now I want to add in my roasted red peppers. Yep, okay. So I got my roasted red peppers here. I want to add these. You can drain it off, okay? You can leave them whole, which is good. You know, if they're too big, just kind of take your fork and kind of break some of those big pieces up, okay? Okay. Now, that piece came out a little large. All I'm gonna do, take my knife inside my pan so I don't have to pull it back out and just kind of pull it apart. Nothing wrong with that.
I have a quick question. This is Sonia. When do we add the spinach with the squash?
Ma'am,
When do we add the spinach?
hold off on the spinach. I'm gonna show you when to add that.
Okay, thank you.
Excuse me. Okay, I'm turning the heat down just a little bit, and then I'm gonna add my crushed tomatoes. I can get that open. Oh gosh. Well, clean up on aisle 4. Hold on. Ooh. Okay, made a little mess there, but that's okay. Part of cooking. Sorry about the exclusion. We'll get that cleaned up. Okay, now we're just going to incorporate the sauce into the vegetables. You got your red peppers. I made sure those are kind of broken up a little bit. Now, you can add a little bit of that juice from the red peppers over into your sauce. Okay. Okay, now we're going to just continue to kind of cook that. Now, this is when you want to taste for flavor. Okay, always taste as you go. Don't double dip, but taste as you go. Okay, now what I want to do, I want to taste my sauce to see where I'm at. Just because you got a recipe doesn't mean anything. You still have to fix it the way you to your liking. Okay, so here. Need something. I'm gonna add a little bit more salt. It's a little bland. Okay. And then I'm gonna add in a little bit of garlic salt as well. Onion powder, oregano, anything that you want to add, you can. Now, here. Now, I'm gonna give you guys a little free trick here. This is something my foster mom, my mom taught me. In adding a little sugar. It's not in the recipe, but it adds a little sweetness and tenderness to your sauce. So I'm just going to use a tablespoon of sugar. You don't have to do this, but it's part of Southern cooking. Okay, I'm going to turn that down, okay, and kind of let those flavors kind of come together, okay? And then I'll taste it one more time, and then I'm going to add in my basil. We'll add in. Bring to a low simmer and cook until it thickens, and we're for about 5 minutes, and then we're going to add the basil on that to come together here. I'm going to go ahead on and put together my ricotta. I'm looking on time, Jen.
We got about 30 more minutes.
Okay, great. Good. Okay, so we got our ricotta cheese here. You can use ricotta or cottage. You can use whatever you would like. Okay. This is a 15-ounce container. Okay, I'm gonna break this up first, and then I'm gonna add in my eggs. Okay. Okay. Make sure you avoid shells. Okay. Okay. Just kind of rinse your hands off as you're doing that. Okay. Again, adding flavor again to each. A little bit of salt, and I'm also going to hit this with a little bit of pepper as well. Okay, now we just incorporate that fork to kind of bring sure that's incorporated. Right. Perfect. Okay, see, nice and smooth consistency here. Everything, the eggs and the ricotta are incorporated really good. Another trick is to set your eggs out, let them come down to room temperature. They cook up, they blend well, very good. It doesn't, and room temperature, it helps things to bake up a lot more fluffier as well. Okay. All right, now here, sauce. Coming together. I'm going to check for flavor one more time because this is the most important part, is the sauce. Okay, so we're going to test a little bit. I'm just testing for flavor. Yeah. Good. That's what I want, because remember, those crushed tomatoes are bland. I had to add a little bit more to it and kind of infuse those flavors. So I'm going to take my basil here. You can kind of pull it off the stems and then kind of break that basil up. It's going to give a great earthiness to your dish. It's going to make people think you spent all day on this. You know, we spent less than that. Okay. All right, break that up into your sauce and kind of incorporate that on through. Okay. All right, now we're ready for a simmer. Here. Now I'm just using a regular disposable pan here. Okay. I like to just lightly coat, very lightly coat the bottom of my pan, not even just a little bit at the bottom. Now you can assemble because your pasta, your sauce is hot. So I'm just going to ladle. Now I'm going to take the back of my spoon of the pan, okay? Ladle the bottom of the pan with the sauce, okay? We'll just set that down. Then I think we're gonna start adding in our noodles, okay? Here. Adding in our noodles. Here. You should be able to fit 4 noodles down at the bottom. Okay, here. here. Okay, now we're gonna get our ricotta mixture out. Kind of spoon that over. Here. Spoon out our ricotta mixture. Now, I have mozzarella cheese. I totally missed the Parmesan, but at this point, you could add your Parmesan and your mozzarella cheese. Here, I'm just going to get a little bit in here. You can. This is when you will add your cheese. Okay. Now with the spinach, I'm using a baby spinach. You can use the little leaf spinach. I think all these have really good spinach, so I like going there. I have a baby spinach. The reason why I'm adding the spinach now, and you can add it at any step, but the reason why I didn't incorporate it into the sauce was because spinach wilts so quickly. I don't want it to be I don't want it to be mushy. So I'm adding it to the mixture, adding it on top of the cheese, and then adding another layer of my noodles, and then add some more sauce, because I don't want it to wilt so bad till it's almost, you can't really recognize it in the dish. You want it to be incorporated throughout the dish. So I'm gonna add a nice level of spinach here. Okay, now remember, you can pile it up. It's gonna, the heat from when you bake, it's gonna wilt down. Okay, so now I'm gonna protect that by adding another layer. Now, if you don't want to add spinach, then of course skip this step and just then again layer your noodles. Okay. Again. All right, now this time, instead of, I'm gonna add my sauce, my ricotta mixture, I'm sorry, not the sauce yet. Okay. Okay. Cheese. Remember, mozzarella, Parmesan, or whatever cheese you like here. Okay. And now my sauce again. Okay. Wait on my sauce. All right. Okay. All right, now, I have enough noodles. They kind of broke up on me a little bit, but I have enough to kind of add one more nice layer. If you have some of the some pieces that kind of broke up, there you go. This is where you can kind of hide the imperfections. You're gonna put a final layer of cheese over top. Okay. Now, I'm gonna add the rest of my ricotta mixture one more time. Just kind of let that kind of slide on out there. All right. Okay, I'm not gonna put cheese on that this time around, okay? I'm gonna add my sauce mixture. Okay, the rest of my sauce. If you don't want to add the rest of the sauce and you just want to stop right there, that's fine. I love the sauce. I want it to be nice and moist because those noodles, those lasagna noodles are gonna, they're gonna soak up that sauce, okay? Now I'm just gonna take the back of my spoon here and kind of even that all the way out, okay? All right, perfect. Now I'm gonna add my last layer of cheese here. Now, if you want to add spinach on top of that, you can. Of course, my family loves cheese, so we're gonna put cheese on top. Okay. You can do a combination of both of the cheeses as well on top to kind of finish it on out, okay? All right, making sure everything is kind of nice and covered. Doesn't that look pretty? So we're gonna put it in the oven, okay? All right. Oh boy, so it's in the oven and we're gonna let it go for about 20 minutes. Now, I'm gonna let it go. You can cover it up with aluminum foil for a few minutes. So let me do that. I'm just gonna kind of cover it a little foil. That's gonna help it to trap the heat in. I got it on the middle rack, okay? Okay, I'm gonna let it kind of go, and then I'm gonna take the heat off in just a minute, okay? All right, how's my time?
Looks like you got about 15 minutes.
15 minutes? Okay, good. That should be at least to get kind of like the show plate. Now, I didn't have this on the menu, but let's say you got some leftover spinach and I'm on. Hands off here. I'm going to show you a quick little easy salad, okay? So I'm going to get my now you can use some of the cheese you already got. I got some Vardy cheese slices here. One second. Okay, so I'm sorry. So I got my spinach here. I got another bag of spinach. These are, I think, like 98 cents a bag at Aldi. And so what I'm gonna do here, I'm just gonna take some of the spinach, okay? It's a pre-wash, so right there. And I'm gonna just kind of tear it up a little bit here. All right. I'll break it up. All right. gonna add a little bit of that garlic seasoning, salt and pepper here. A little bit of fresh cracked black pepper. Now you can add tomatoes to this. I'm gonna add a little bit of olive oil. Okay, just a little bit of olive oil. And some apple cider vinegar. Okay. My apple cider vinegar. Hold on. My apples. Okay, so I'm gonna add. So to this, I got a little bit of spinach in here, a little bit of garlic seasoning, and I'm gonna add just about a tablespoon of apple cider vinegar to make like just a simple salad to go along with this, okay? So just like a little freshness to that. Spoon kind of incorporate that, right? To make like a simple salad. You can add a little cheese to it, tomato, onion, some of the leftover garlic if you would like. Just as like a simple green salad, real quick. You can add the squash, onion, whatever you would like to it, just as a simple like green to kind of go along with your salad. Okay, I'm going to take the tin off. Okay, let it kind of go together with that. Okay, any questions so far before we finish up and plate with the lasagna? I'm gonna get this stuff out of my way. Any questions so far? None? Okay. How you guys coming along? Has everybody got theirs in the oven? Okay. I'm gonna add a little cheddar cheese to this one. Cheddar. Just well to that. Okay, do we have a few more minutes? We can kind of plate it up. We might, hopefully we can get to that to see how it looks on the side. I'm gonna move.
Yes, we have about, looks like we have about 10 minutes.
Okay, all right, great. So to this, you know, I know the holidays are coming up. Everybody's kind of stuck inside. So it's kind of good to get out and cook. Enjoy, you know, some of the recipes, some of the, you know, family time. I know we can't do everything we would like to do, but it's kind of good. You know, cooking is therapy. You know, I enjoy cooking for my family and students, and that's part of my career, but I enjoy the connection, and sometimes it's hard to connect with people via Zoom, but I like, and hopefully you enjoyed the, you know, the sessions we've had. I thoroughly enjoyed them, and I look forward to, you know, working and doing some other classes in the future. I wanted to share a couple of things that, like, some of my people always like, what kind of seasoning do you use? What type of stuff do you like to cook with? Some dressings that I like. This is really good. This is a Fiji apple from Panera Bread. I kind of use that, so that's a good dressing to use with Italian food. It just adds some flavor. I could have added this to the spinach salad. I like a lot of McCormick seasonings. They have some really good seasonings if you're doing grilled food. I like garlic seasoning salt from Lowry's. That's another one. And some of the vegetables. I used to love to go to Southern Season in Chapel Hill and kind of browse around there, the company shops market when it was downtown Burlington. So Harris Teeter has a wide variety of seasonings that you can use, but that's the fun part. Get something, try it out, and see what you like. You know, that's the most important thing is to get cooking. I'm gonna check on that. I might pull it a little bit early just so we can kind of see how it kind of comes together. What I'm doing is kind of check it on, let it go a few more minutes, and then we'll get our plate out and kind of plate this. So I'll show you on the magic of TV how it should look. So. Okay, now I'm just gonna pull this a little early, of course. All right, and it's coming together really well. It looks good. Now, head on and leave yours in a little bit longer. I'm gonna go ahead on and kind of plate this. Okay. Okay, looks great and it smells delicious. Okay, get my plate here. Okay, step back just a second. We'll grab this. Okay. Now, of course, it needs to set up a little bit more. Okay, so I'm gonna put it back in the oven, but I'm just gonna take a little bit off the top just so we can kind of taste the flavor a little bit, but I am going to let it go. I'm going to get a few more of those nice vegetables here. Okay, I'm going to bring that over. I just want to taste a little bit of it before we eat. I'm going to put it back in the oven because it needs to marry and come together a little bit. Probably leave it in for another 10 to 15 minutes, depending on your oven. Okay, and then I'm going to add my salad here. All right, so I'm going to add my salad. Okay, as well, kind of pan that just a little bit. Okay. All right, so it looks great. You have some real ones, they're nice. We didn't overcook the vegetables, so they hold up really good, which is good. That's what you want to see. All right, I'm gonna give this a little try here. And I'm just testing. I just want to taste it to make sure everything kind of come together. Good. Wow, that's great. Okay. Of course, you can have a little garlic bread with this. And of course, with the salad, it just adds a nice little freshness, of course, to your meal. Good. Okay. Any questions before we end?
Wanted to let you know somebody said that you're a great teacher.
Now, you said just...
Oh, you don't put me in the background, ma'am.
And you said the tablespoon of sugar is added while you're making the sauce, right? Just
Yes. Add a little bit of sweetness and helps to kind of tenderize because those crushed tomatoes, they're canned and they have no flavor in them whatsoever. So even though you had that onion and that garlic and it had all those flavor, as soon as you pour that can in it, it just sucks up all of that. And sometimes even following recipes, it may not give you the flavor. And you really want that sauce to stand out because the sauce is the star, okay? Now, if you switch this and said, okay, I'm gonna add the vegetables, but I'm also gonna a little Italian sausage, a little ground beef, of course, do that. That's going to, again, help to give that flavor. But make sure you season, brown your meat first, then add in your onion and then your garlic. So do the meat first, then add the rest of the vegetable. And then that little teaspoon to a tablespoon of sugar, I put a tablespoon of sugar in this dish. It really helps to bring out that flavor and gives it just a hint of sweetness. And you have a little bit of sweetness from the tomatoes, but that extra sugar there helps to kind of bring out the dish a little bit more. Right, somebody said, Donna, yes, it does. That and Duke's mayonnaise, Lord. I don't think you can live in the South if you don't if you don't work with Duke's mayonnaise. Okay, any more questions? If not, it's been a great session. Thank you all so much. I hope we got everything done within an hour, which is great. I always like to do that because my son can really only last an hour and then he starts to get cranked up again. Okay. Well, you guys have a wonderful evening and happy cooking. Hope to see you the next time.
Thank you, Tiffany.
Okay. Thank you. Bye-bye.